Space Arena. SAGA Podcast.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up? Welcome back to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited, from the ground up into space. BananaCrapshoot joined by, once again, back again, like
2 weeks in a row.
Like the Backstreet Boys, Kennedy Hall. How you doing?
Doing great. Got a camera this time and everything. We swapped our office that used to be downstairs to upstairs, and last week we had half of the computer moved, which made it difficult. But this time the whole computer's moved, so it's exciting.
That's better. I was always told, I think I learned this from Ron Swanson, that you don't half-ass two things.
Yes.
Whole-ass one thing, and I think that also applies to your computer.
Probably.
All right, so I'm gonna let you drive this one. So, what are we gonna talk about tonight?
Awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about sealed play tonight. So we're just a couple weeks away from pre-release weekend for Star Wars Unlimited. So pre-release weekend, I think some places are beginning Friday, March 1st through March 3rd. And you can go to your local store and see if you can sign up to get a pre-release kit and play in a pre-release tournament. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then about sealed play in general and what some of our tips and tricks are for sealed play. The full game releases March 8th, a week later, so that's when you'll be able to pick up 2-player starter sets and things like that. I believe during FFG's announcements of this game, they said they're going to have constant pre-releases. So I thought we'd talk about our experience in other games with pre-releases as well. So let's get off talking about pre-release. Are you pumped?
I'm ready. I'm even more pumped after this weekend than I was previously. Now it's permanently burned into my mind. I can't stop. You know the Spider-Man meme where it's like everywhere I go I see his face. It's like everywhere I go I see
a Star Wars quote or something.
Xander's face. That's
amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't watched everything from this weekend yet. I'm spreading it out over the 2 weeks we have left, so it's going to be inching.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
So, for Spark of the Rebellion, I thought we would talk about pre-releases. And we can put a link in the description as to what the pre-release details are. But I wanted to go over what a pre-release is in general. So a pre-release is sort of like a pre-sale for the game. The full game isn't out. You're not going to be able to buy booster boxes and decks for this game yet, but you can buy these pre-release packs. So it's sort of like a sneak preview. Different games do it differently, right? At some Magic pre-releases, you can play in a sealed tournament, and then that gets you a ticket to buy a box. That's how they do it at our local store. Same thing for One Piece. You play in a starter deck tournament, and then you get a ticket, and you can go get a box a week early. Every game does it a little bit differently, but it's kind of like the pre-sale before online retailers and other people can officially ship you the product. So it's a really cool chance to meet people in the community, especially since this is a brand new game. And it's a good chance to sort of like establish your community and get people excited about the game. So definitely, we've been saying it all along. Go tell your stores that they should order and try to get pre-release kits. And hopefully many of you did that so you get to play in this pre-release weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If we all get kits, we might even do like an online pre-release with you, me, and Mr. Ben. That would be sweet. I'm banking on it.
We'll see.
Maybe with whatever was in our kit, right?
Yeah.
So what are your experiences with pre-releases? Have you played in pre-releases for other games?
I have. I played in pre-release for Dragon Ball Super really early, like said 2 or 3, and then I played in a Final Fantasy pre-release, and I played in a Star Wars Destiny pre-release. Those are mine.
The Final Fantasy ones are really nice because the kits come with like a set of card sleeves in them too. It's like 6 packs and card sleeves and 1 promo or something. So that's pretty swag.
Yeah. But the sleeve. So I will just, since you mentioned it, the sleeves are. If you've had Bandai art sleeves, they're junk. They're like junk. And
They can't be
The
as
final-
bad as Lorcana sleeves.
the Final Fantasy ones aren't much better. Lorcana ones are pretty bad too. Yeah, but Bandai ones are pretty bad. The Final Fantasy ones aren't much better.
I found, well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We don't want to start with that.
Okay.
I played in a ton of pre-releases for a ton of games, especially when new games come out. I love to play in their pre-release, like when no one knows what to do yet. Sometimes I'll research ahead of time how to play, and that's what you're doing by watching this podcast, or listening to this podcast, or watching
Whatever
the
you're doing.
subtitles in this podcast, or translating it into Wookiee and then listening. But pre-releases are super fun. I've played in like the Battle Spirits Saga pre-release. Nobody knew what they were doing in that game, and they still don't. So that was an awesome pre-release. Digimon, One Piece have pre-releases. I played the last Magic pre-release I played in was the Lord of the Rings set. I think it was last year. That was super fun. Just to go back to that game once in a while and play in a limited pool where you're not getting beat down by people that know every card and every combo. And Lorcana kind of has pre-releases too. So there's all sorts of different ways to do pre-releases for different games. But the way FFG and Asmodee are doing this is March 1st through the 3rd. You'll be able to play in these pre-release kits at your store. So what's in a pre-release box? A pre-release box is MSRP of $29.99. And I'll read exactly what FFG tells us. Right before the full launch of the set, you'll be able to take part in a pre-release event at any participating store. So find out if your store is participating. This means you'll be able to buy a pre-release box, which comes with 6 Spark of Rebellion booster packs, 2 promo cards, quick start rules, damage counters, a deck building guide, and a deck box. This product is the perfect jumping to This product is the perfect tool for jumping into this game of unlimited possibilities and provides you everything you'll need to participate in your store's pre-release tournament. And the best part, it releases a whole week before the rest of the set. Really good, especially for your pocketbook, right? Cards are really expensive when there's a limited card pool of cards. So what I've found in games is a lot of times when I get my pre-release stuff, I end up like offloading all the rares and legendaries and paying for like the rest of my game. So think about doing that if you want to. But basically you're going to get 6 booster packs, some damage tokens, some rules a week ahead of time. And most stores do this as a tournament. So if they have 8 kits, they'll do a 3-round tournament to see who gets undefeated. We know a little bit about the promo cards, right? The promo cards are Luke and Vader from the starter set.
Yeah, and I could probably find them and throw them up. But yeah, it's an alternate art version of Luke and Vader. Like completely different artwork, not the Gen Con promos.
And the way you're going to play is in sealed play, right? So sealed play is different than draft play. It's different than constructed play. So I figured we should go a little bit over what sealed play is. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, those are pretty sweet. So in sealed play, you're going to open 6 booster packs. You're going to take those cards from the booster packs, which it's 15 cards per pack, and one's a leader and one's a token. Is that true?
16.
16. So you get... Oh gosh, math on the fly. Should have prepared. 15
14
times 6.
16.
14 times 6?
Well,
'Cause the
14
base
playable
token.
cards. Yeah. Well, and also the store gets an event kit that has all of the common bases. So you don't have to worry about if you don't get the right aspect base in your pools that you want to do. The store will have they'll have a kit that has common bases for you to use.
Nice. But not leaders, right? It's just bases.
Correct.
So the way sealed play will work is you can take your 6 packs. You're going to make a 30 card deck out of those 6 packs.
Yep.
So you're going to be able to remove some of the cards from your card pool. You can use any of the leaders you opened. So you should have 6 leaders plus the promo leaders.
Right.
So you're going to build a 30 card deck with any of the 8 leaders you opened and a base. And you're going to play with the normal deck building rules. So because one of the most awesome things in Star Wars Unlimited is you can include any card in your deck, you don't have to worry about resource matching and all sorts of stuff like that, but you are going to have to think about that 2 cost tax if you're trying to play something out of aspect. and it should be a blast. The decks are way thinner, so you can expect to see most of the cards you put in your deck by the end of the game. So that's one big advantage of sealed play. And you're going to get to see a ton of cards for the first time if you haven't read every card spoiler like the nerds on this podcast.
Yeah. Another thing too is with deck building, another change is the limit to 3 copies of a card in your deck doesn't apply. So if you have 4 wing leaders, or you can put 4 wing leaders in your deck.
Yeah, that's the example they give is 5 cell block guards. You can just put them all in there and have guards for days.
Which would be very annoying.
It would be very annoying.
And sealed, yeah.
So, I haven't played any sealed Star Wars Unlimited, except for like on TTS, I've tried a couple. But I thought we would talk about what are some of our tips for sealed play. So you've played sealed play, so could you give us some of what you think are pro moves?
Go with removal if you can, because with the limited card pool, there's not going to be a lot of removal. So if you have access to removal cards, I would try to find a way to include those in your 30 card deck. Other than that, what I did, even though I lost every game I played of sealed over the weekend, is I had a lot of green. I had a lot of command and aggression, like heroism cards. So I just put those together and then picked a leader that worked, which was Leia. So I went Leia with command and aggression. I didn't have a whole lot of rebels in it, but I had a lot of green and red. So
yeah, I think that's sort of my 2 tricks, right? Is if you can build a deck where you're staying within those aspect icons, not paying that 2 resource tax is going to be huge. You're going to be on curve and everybody else is going to be off curve. So that's really, really strong. It's probably going to be hard to have an optimal deck that way, but you can have a pretty good deck that way. The other thing is to look through your leaders for someone that's like agnostic of trait or type or whatnot. So if you can find a leader like Sabine or whoever that like is always going to have their ability go off, that's going to be a good leader to choose because you're not depending on having a bunch of Imperials or like maybe you do get 5 Imperials, right? Yeah, and then you're saying, oh, I hope I get those Imperials in my hand at the right time. If you remove that like chance from the equation, it's only going to help you.
Yep.
The second tip I have is always take removal. So like this works really well in Lorcana Sealed, is there's not a lot of removal in that game. So when you get a removal card, you just put it in your deck, whether it's in draft or sealed, and it really, really, really can muck with your opponent because a lot of limited and sealed plays, people don't have all the optimal drops at every point on the curve. So a lot more characters are like existing on the board for more than 1 turn, and anytime you can get a character to last 2 turns, or your opponent has to use 2 cards to get rid of one of your characters, that's like a big advantage towards you. So any type of removal you can get is really, really strong. Kennedy Hawk tip number 3 is to not take too many big cost units. Because since you're going to be playing, a lot of units, or you're not going to have these optimal decks, seeding your deck with more low-cost units, like a normal cost curve, so you draw into them faster, is going to be good. But flooding the board with those low-cost units and chipping away at your opponent's base is going to put the pressure on them. But you also don't want to end up on like turn 3 with a handful of like 8 and 7 cost cards. You're never going to be able to like catch up from the tempo loss.
Right.
And the last thing I've seen online is people said that, right, with the space units being a little bit weaker than ground units, people tend to focus on ground a little bit more in constructed play. Usually about 2/3 of their units in ground and 1/3 in space. But they've had a lot greater chances of success by putting a lot of space units into their limited decks or their sealed decks. I haven't tried that out for sure yet, but it does make sense, right? There's a lot less removal in space. It's harder to remove things, so your things are going to last for longer because their stats are kind of degraded. So building up, a space wall could be a really good way to accelerate your win.
Yeah, but there's a line there, like just like with a normal game, if you focus all in space, you don't have any presence in ground, you're just going to get steamrolled. So
yeah, hopefully not 30 space cards.
I think prioritizing the space cards you do draw is probably a good idea.
Yes. And the last thing for sealed play, tip number 5, is like just have fun. As far as I know, at least what our store is doing, there's no like prize for sealed play. Like they are charging us the cost of MSRP, so you just get your product. So you're there to have fun and meet other people. So if you don't win, that's okay. Just tinker your deck between the rounds and try to win. You are allowed to, I believe, change your deck between
Yep.
games as long as you stay within your 6-pack pool. So you're
Yep.
going to have that deck box. You can put your extra cards into it. And if there was something that you drew and you were like, this was always a bad card, I always resourced this, then swap it out for something else and see how it goes. This is your chance to experiment with no like negative consequences for it. So go for it.
Yeah, and neutrals are your friend, like the Frontier ATRT
Mm-hmm.
and the Underworld Thug. Those are your friends too, even
Yeah,
though they don't go with any aspects.
With Magic and games like that, I typically sort things by color, and I feel like what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort all of the heroism and villainy cards and see like which one I have more of, or which one I have like a good combo in, and then probably lean that way. But we'll see. I'm going to play in two, so maybe I'll choose to go heroism in one and villainy in the other one, just to try them all out.
Find out. In games like this, if you're really worried about winning, which is not a big deal, usually what you said I'm agreeing with, playing the cheaper units, generally in games where there's an action system, the player that takes more actions generally does well. So if you can have more actions than your opponent every round, you're probably going to do well. And one of the ways to do that is by swarming.
Yeah, and always play red. That too.
Yep, that helps.
In just about every game, just always play red. You'll be pretty happy with it.
Turn right.
And I think this game too, right? I think that really rushing the board and putting pressure on your opponent means all you have to do is draw one good card and all of a sudden you've won the game. So I think that it's really good, I guess. And then the strategy tips for Unlimited in general, in my opinion, is to know when to stop resourcing. This isn't just for sealed, but for constructed too. If you're drawing 2 cards around, eventually it's better for you to take those 2 cards as hand advantage rather than resourcing a card every turn. So when you build your sealed deck, if you know the most expensive thing is 6, and you don't need to play a 6 and 1 in the same term, or you don't need to go to 7 to flip Vader, then you can stop resourcing at 6, and all of a sudden you get 2 cards, and your opponent is still resourcing 1 around. And then all of a sudden you get 2 things on the board, and they get more resources, but they're still only playing 1 threat, and you get the advantage, kind of. So figure out when you're going to stop resourcing and like what the balance between that is. That's a big key.
Yep. Yeah, I would call that a pro move.
A pro move, but
yeah,
by a non-pro, by an amateur pro. And we're not going to talk about draft today. That's another way to play. Hopefully we'll get to talk about draft before the game releases, because at least me, I'm buying too many boxes, but I like to build my collection through draft, right? So for like the next set of One Piece or whatever other card game I decide to keep playing, I'm probably not going to buy a bunch of boxes each set anymore, because I'm going to be buying them out of this game. So I'll buy 1 box, and then I'll like play in a bunch of drafts at my store where I get to pick just the colors that I wanted to play out of those packs, or try to win the draft and win some additional prizing or whatever. So we'll talk about draft in the future, but for today we just wanted to cover sealed, because that's what you're going to get to experience on this pre-release weekend.
Yeah, draft's fun. I didn't do draft this weekend, but they were drafting until like 5 in the morning.
Too late. Too late for me. Too early for me, maybe. That's the real answer. What else do we want to talk about for sealed? Those were all the things that I had. What's the status of your local pre-release? Are you going to go to a pre-release?
There's
probably not. This game sucks, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to 2 Saturday. So Saturday, March 2nd. I've one at noon at one store and then one at 5 at another. That's an hour away from that store. I'm kind of in the middle of both of them. So I'm going to stay at one and leave at 4 to get to the other one. The one store is running a second pre-release on Sunday. Probably not going to go to that. I did see another store today post about, like, hey, pre-order stuff from us, even though I'm pretty sure tomorrow is, like, the last day to pre-order stuff. So it seems a little odd, but...
we didn't get enough people to buy. Please help.
Yeah. The day before pre-orders are supposed to be locked in.
Yeah.
So I am going to 2 pre-release events.
Nice.
And if you want to do something with Ben and myself, then I'll try to order one online.
Yeah, or you could use the one you had too, right? I mean, it's still a pool of 6 packs. That seems fair.
I'll keep a box together. I made a Twin Suns deck over the weekend, and that's still sleep. Dude, that's all I did Saturday night.
Looks super fun.
Just played multiplayer with like the guys from the Johto cast and and main deck and Nelson all over cards. But I still have that together. I'm ready to go. So whenever you want to play Twin Suns,
Well, I haven't got anything yet, but soon.
couple weeks.
2 weeks. So I'm playing in, I think, 2. There's a bunch of local game stores, but the 3 that are the most gung ho are all owned by the same like parent company or the same person. So they've got one in Albuquerque, one in Rio Rancho, and one up in Santa Fe. So they're running Friday in Albuquerque, Saturday in Rio Rancho, Sunday in Santa Fe, or something like that. I don't know the order. And I think they're doing 2 pods each day. So I'm playing in 2 pods on the Saturday event. And then I'm probably not playing in the Friday and Sunday event and watching my children so that I can go to the Saturday event and have my wife watch the children on that day.
Got it.
So that I don't have to bring younglings with me like here today.
Right.
Go to bed.
Another thing about Sealed that I just thought of is a cool thing. This is a trading card game. This is going to be the first time most people are seeing the actual cards and seeing how awesome the hyperspace and the foil treatments and everything are. If there's a character, hey, try to find somebody to trade with. You know, that's part of the fun, is hanging out when you're done playing and saying, oh, that card's awesome. I have 2 of these. You want to take one of these? Just trading can be fun too. So that's a part of it. You don't have to try to flip it on TCG Player day 1. You know, go.
And you
Experiment.
do technically
Have
get
fun.
enough cards to make a Twin Suns deck, right? So might not be a great one, but you could do a Wednesday night Twin Suns after your pre-release while you're waiting for the rest of your cards just to get one more experience with the game, which could be cool.
Yeah, and that's singleton format. So.
Yeah, it's singleton format. You're going to have, 84-ish cards, so hopefully you don't have too many duplicates that you can't do it. It's 50 card decks right now, and then it's going to be 80 at set 4.
Yeah, year 2,
That'll be
which makes
sweet.
sense.
Well, that's all I had today for sealed play.
We did have somebody give some strategy chips.
Oh, dang, let's check those out.
Where'd they go? Okay. Inception said you need to know who's the beatdown and who is not the beatdown. So
Explain that to us. People may not know what the beatdown is.
So the beatdown, I'm pretty sure, like most things, comes from Magic, and it basically means who is the aggression player and who is the control player at that point in time. So if you're the aggression player, you could be the beatdown. And that situation can change throughout the game depending on the game state situation. At some point, control decks usually are not the beatdown early, and then eventually they'll turn the corner in late game, they become the beatdown. And aggro decks are the beatdown very early, and if they peter out late game, they're not the beatdown. So it's knowing when you're the control player versus when you're the aggressive player. That's knowing with the beatdown.
And it's a little bit harder in sealed to know that, because once like a meta evolves and you know like all the cards in the card pool, when you see someone's leader, you can kind of guess what their deck's trying to do. But in sealed, right, someone could run a Leia leader and not even have any green cards in their deck. You wouldn't even know until you start playing. So
yeah,
it's a little bit crazy, but it's sort of like on every turn and every round deciding, are you the aggressing player now, or are you still trying to like build your presence and become dominating later? Or did you aggress a lot, now you're just trying to hold on and get that last point of damage in? And part of that to me is knowing what the biggest threat on the board is. So if in sealed, you're going to see a lot of boards where I've got 3 things on the board, you've got 3 things on the board, and I've got to decide what's the most important thing to remove. So figuring out what that is and figuring out how to beat down on it is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Ryback Stun say play removal. 100% agree. Every removal card I open will be going in my deck. Most likely. Unless
Good
it's
idea.
super conditional.
We did have a question on Twitter not aimed at pre-release stuff.
That's fine.
But John, GG Lights Out, wants to know how are you going to organize your cards by aspect?
Oh, well, this is a question that defines friendships. Are you a boxes person or are you a binders person?
Me, personally?
You, yeah.
I utilize both.
Me too.
I utilize binders and boxes for various reasons. What are your reasons for?
I use boxes for bulk typically, and typically I play like 2 main games at a time. So it used to be like Marvel Champions and One Piece, and now it's probably Marvel Champions and Lorcana, and in 2 weeks it's going to be Marvel Champions and Star Wars Unlimited. So typically I keep my main games in a binder, and when games get big, it takes several binders. So Marvel Champions, I can now no longer do that. So I sort those cards by aspect, and then I sort them by type, and then I sort them by cost, and then I sort them alphabetically. And because I am very, very particular about things like that, every time I deconstruct a deck, I have to put them in the right spots or I can't sleep in it. So there's a big pile of cards. You can see them right here in a giant pile that I have to unsort from last week because it's not going to let me sleep until then. For One Piece, what I did is at first I was keeping things in set order in a binder, and I have this nice zipper binder that could keep sets of 4 across it so that I could have play sets on each page and I could turn to the page and find the cards. But then eventually I started saying, okay, well, I always put the red cards in the same deck, so it doesn't make sense when set 2, 3, and 4 comes out to keep collecting these binders. So I had a red binder with all my red cards, a blue binder with all my blue cards, a green binder with all my green cards, and then those jerks at Bandai released multicolored cards, and I was like, oh, ruined my plan again.
You had to know that was coming. Because
I knew it was coming, but
they do for every game.
it was so aesthetically nice until then. So then I moved to, okay, well, the main colors I play are red and black. So I'm going to keep my red and black cards in a binder. Everything else kind of goes in a box, except for trades. Because at this point in One Piece, if I open something expensive from the other colors, I'll trade it for a red or black card, because that might actually go in my deck. So what I will likely do with Star Wars Unlimited is I will start super obsessed and put them all in a binder, because I have a giant pile of binders that will be empty from when I throw that Lorcana stuff in the trash. And then I will slowly evolve when set 2 comes out to saying, okay, maybe my commons don't need to be in a binder. I should probably put those into a box. And once I rotate to boxes, I start to leave some decks constructed. But to start with, I'm definitely going to use a binder. Some people are very anti-binder. If you're going to do binders, make a D-ring binder. And what that means is like the little hooks in the binder, you want it to be the shape of a D. That will make it so that your cards don't get damaged. If you do like the full circle one, the cards will kind of get bent and smeared, and that's no good. Or get one of those fancy cloth binders by like Ultra Pro or whoever. That's what I usually use. I think GameGenic might make some of those cloth
GameGenic
binders
makes
now.
some binders now, like
Pretty
the
nice.
salt these binders. Yeah.
But I'm a big binders person. I know some people hate binders because they take up a lot of room, but they're so pretty on the shelf. Someday we'll do a tour of my game closet back here once we finish moving everything. You can see my binder wall. It's very exciting.
So I binder cards, and I usually do it by card number. Okay, so that's how I start with, and then what ends up happening is I'll take cards out to construct decks, and then when I swap cards in and out that I know I'm using a lot, they'll end up in a box that I use for deck construction, for swapping cards in and out all the time. That way, I don't have to flip through the binder. I know, oh, these cards are in this box because I'm going to swap them out between different decks. And then it just, devolves into debauchery from there.
I wish I was capable of doing that, but my brain can't function. I'll start flipping through the binder and be like, how do I not have this common? I must go buy more packs to fix this.
No, it's in my box.
It's in your box. Your commonly played box. I like that.
Yeah. And then eventually, I'll have bulk extras that I'll put into a box. But the hyperspace cards, so after 252, it starts over in the hyperspace. It goes forever. The hyperspace cards are numbered higher than 252, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the binder.
A lot of binders.
Right now, I just have all the hyperspaces on the back 2 pages filled in for now, because I'm going to have to get a separate hyperspace binder, I guess.
Just join the binder cult, and we have many, many binders of all sorts of colors. You can put stickers on them. It's super fun.
Ooh,
my kids
stickers.
love putting stickers on the binders. That's like a big deal. Our game store gives out stickers. So every time I take my kids in to pick something up, they get a free sticker at the counter. And my daughter's very big at putting them on her wall, and then they don't peel off and it rips off paint. But my son wants to put them on a card game binder immediately. So then he goes to the game closet and he picks out whatever color he wants to put them on. They're all mismatched now. It's horrible for my brain. Like I'll pull out my One Piece binder and it'll be covered in like Pokemon and Digimon and then random other anime that I don't know. Mega Man, something, I don't know. But it's fun. Stickers are cool. I'm sure you'll get Star Wars stickers someday. I heard it's like a big IP or something. Any other Twitterverse questions?
People might end up with Space Arena, Ground Arena stickers at some point.
What? Ooh. That'd be sweet. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, looking into it. That was it on Twitter. So that was kind of short notice that I posted it.
That's okay. 2 more weeks, and then it's time. It's time, friends.
Pre-release.
Do you want to talk about our league play a little bit? Just announce it so people can remember that we have a league coming up.
Yeah, so Space Arena, Ground Arena webcam league. You can sign up through the month of February. I'll post the player reference guide and the registration in the show notes. It's going to be 8 weeks of Swiss. Each round is a week. You have to schedule and play your game. It'll be a best of 3 over webcam with your opponent, and then after that, we'll do a top cut. One of the local stores here offered to sponsor with prize support, so shout out to the Banish Zone. They're gonna hook us up with some prize support stuff for the league, and then we will have something we're gonna give out to the winner also. So, yeah.
Are we playing in it? Are you playing in it?
Probably. I haven't.
Okay.
It depends how many people register.
Gotcha. I signed up, but you can kick me out if you need to.
No, I would love to play in it, but if it's going to be like a weird
An
number,
odd number or something,
then I'll just judge.
That's fair. Fair.
I would like to play in it. Yeah.
The webcams are super fun. They're a cool way to make connections across the world of people that like the same game as you. Because then when you go to events at big conventions or Gen Con or whatever, you can meet up with those people in real life and play, and it's super fun. I love webcams. Webcam weeklies.
Yeah, and they're easy to set up. If you have any questions, reach out on Mr. Ben. I modeled our league off of how Mr. Ben ran his webcam leagues for like Radlands and Dice Throne and Versus System and stuff. So leaning heavily on his experience here. But webcams, they're not hard to set up to do games. You can even use your phone and like a cereal box, really. You just got to make sure your opponent can see your board. You could use your phone and everything's going to run through Discord. But I like the webcam games. It's more personal than like TTS or another digital client. It's a little more personal, and I enjoy how webcam.
And you can change your deck week to week for now, right? So that means, right, if you don't get all the product that first week, it's totally fine. You can build your deck better next week. Right. So it's super fun, super cash.
Yeah, first week should be wild because it's going to start the week after release. So the first week should be pretty wild. But then, you can change your deck every week. And then the only time that decks are going to be locked in is once we get to that top cut stage, people will have to submit a deck list. But up to that point, change your deck every week. It don't matter.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. If it's successful, and we'll look at doing another one, after set 2. So,
cool.
If it works out, it should end like a month before set 2 drops, roughly. So it should give people, and it's only one game a week, so it's not like a huge
time sink or anything. And there's no like set time. I've played in ones before. Like there was a One Piece one, and it was like Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast, but that's 3 p.m. for me, so that's real bad because I'm like at work still.
Right. So no, there is no set time. So how it's going to work is Monday I'll post the round pairings in our Discord, and then you'll have from Tuesday to Sunday to play your game. So schedule that, and then Monday I'll input all the stuff and do pairings for the next round Monday, and we'll keep going.
I think that if the 3 of us play in it, we should have bounties.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
So I might figure something out for that. Maybe that's how we'll send out SAGA stickers. You play against one of the 3 of us, win, you get a sticker.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Because
a
I'm
good
real
one. I
bad,
like
so it's gonna be easy too.
I'm gonna be playing bad decks, so it should be
Yeah.
there's no big competitive events for set one, right? We have store showdowns, but no planetary qualifiers start until set two.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna have fun with set one. I'm just gonna try wild and wacky stuff and throw it against the wall and see what happens.
Set 1 is your grow the community time.
Yeah, and you do that by having fun and encouraging people to have fun, not by
beating them down. What?
not by being a I can't say it. This is supposed to be a family friendly show, but if you go around stomping everybody at your locals playing the best deck week after week after week, you're gonna drive people away. You know?
Be a Jedi, not a Sith Lord. I get it.
Yeah.
But the
That's
good
it.
Jedi, not the bad Jedi that come up every once in a while.
I think we need to. Who's your favorite Star Wars character? I don't remember.
Well,
Mine
last
changes
week it
day
was
to day.
R2D2,
Right.
but we were talking at work about embarrassing first emails. And my embarrassing first email screen name was Sebulba with my zip code from middle school. So I think
That
I'd
was
have
your
to say
first screen name?
Sebulba today. Embarrassing first screen name is pretty amazing. There you go. In case you don't know, Sebulba is the Doug pod racer from episode 1 with the big orange pod that cheats. Says Bantha Poodoo a bunch, and he like throws wrenches in Anakin's pod. He's amazing. I had the action figure as a kid. It was great.
So Bulba always wins. That's
Sebulba always wins.
yeah. I was just asking because like maybe that's some way we could incorporate like something.
You're like, you made that really hard. Pick a better character.
No, that's fine. Because I was like, mine's still bad. Cad Bane today.
Cad Bane, he's cool. He's cool.
Even old, even 70 years old in Tatooine, he's still faster than Boba Fett.
Yeah. Boba Fett who?
Yeah. Riding on Din Djarin's coattails, if you ask me. Oh, yeah, that was another thing. So, at the community event, last thing they officially announced was set 2 starters. Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian. What do you think about that?
I'm excited, but I want to see stuff, not just art. So, I guess that means I'm excited. But,
I mean, I'm glad they didn't show anything because set 1's not even out yet. Give us just a little tease. They gave us just a little tease.
I think what you want to do is release like the first couple cards right when set 1's coming out, so people are talking about them at the store. I think that's what I want.
I don't know about that. I want set 1
people understanding the payment plan that they're in right away. No, it'll be fine. I'm excited about it. We'll see. I really like the Mandalorian as a hero. I wasn't a big fan of Moff Gideon. The bad guys in Mandalorian haven't done it for me very well, so they feel like generic Star Wars bad guys to me still.
It's an Imperial remnant, right? So
that's true. They should feel like generic Star Wars bad guys.
Okay, just real quick, what's your early guess on their aspects? And this also kind of, at least for set 2, confirms that they're going to do starters for every set.
I think Moff Gideon will be command, maybe aggression, but we already have Vader's aggression, right?
Correct.
So the first starter set was vigilance versus aggression, so I think they're going to skip those aspects. So my guess would be cunning versus command. Cunning for the Mandalorian and command for Moff Gideon. What do you think?
That makes sense. That's kind of what my thought was too. They would do they'd switch the aspects up. So then after set 2, you have the same number of leaders. I mean, who knows how big the set is? I mean, the set could be a little smaller or a little bigger.
Sometimes there's like a big burst in that first set, and then it's smaller sets later. It's nice for collecting. So
yeah, I think they said though, since they're doing only 3 sets a year, the sets are going to be larger in size.
That would make sense. It's a bigger interjection into the card pool. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was You got anything else on pre-release?
That was it. I'm pre-released out for 14 more days.
That was the pre-release primer. Get out to your local stores and tell everybody, go play Star Wars Unlimited. And if you call a store and they're like, no, we're not, blah, 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 say, well, I want to order Star Wars Unlimited from you. How can we make this happen?
Yeah, how
Right?
can I spend my money here, please?
If you tell someone you're trying to give them money and they tell you, we don't want to take your money, then you don't want to go to that store anyway. So,
yeah. Tell them to email me and I'll tell them to buy it. That'll
yeah,
work.
tell them to reach out to Kennedy Hawk and
They can slide in my DMs on Discord. It'll be
he'll
fine.
straighten them out.
Well, we'll see him in the arenas, right?